Welcome back, everyone, to Evolution Racing Network for the second race of the doubleheader for the night. Coming to you with the truck series of Thursday night Throwdown here on Evolution Racing Network. Thank you for those that have tuned in earlier for the ARCA race. That was a great race. Alongside me tonight is Trevor Massetti. Trevor, what do you think of looking forward to this truck race?
Oh man, I'm ready for some truck racing. I personally, the trucks, I believe you're on the same page as me, but I think the trucks are my favorite car on the service, and I'm looking forward to see what these guys can do with them.
Yeah, expecting, somewhat pretty much what we saw in the first, maybe a little bit tighter grouping here, maybe a little bit more draft. The fuel window is going to be a little different. I was looking at 40, 45 laps. Maybe somebody can stretch it out on one stop. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be close because we're doing 100 laps here. Um, I I think the draft is gonna play a big part here because these trucks have they have a pretty big draft factor, and you can really use that to stay stuck to somebody and try to save as much fuel as you can. But I don't know if that's a lot of fuel to save.
It's a lot of fuel, especially in the trucks. In the draft, maybe not so much. But individually, if you see any split, it's gonna be hard to save fuel. There's a couple things that are gonna remain the same between the two, and that's gonna be, I believe you're gonna have a predominant line here. You're gonna see that line develop in the middle of the corner. You'll see a little bit of low early, and maybe somebody try the top side later on in the run.
Yeah, I believe. In the ARCA race earlier, we saw it was a very bottom dominant track, and Charlotte normally is, but I feel like these trucks and the way the aero package is, the top is not necessarily like completely ruled out all the way. I think it could be a big factor later on in the race.
Yeah, we're looking at 100 laps here tonight versus the ARCA that had 70 laps. A little bit longer of a race here. Some of these guys that appear are doing double duty here tonight, so they've been out on the track. They kind of know what the track is gonna how the track's gonna shape up throughout the night. But I'm curious to see how those guys do, and looking at the first three races of the season here, looking at Timothy Latham here with two wins on the season already. But this is one of those tracks you can't really count anybody out because it's such tight racing, and this draft plays such a huge effect here.
Yeah, for sure. Like you were saying, Latham is currently sitting at the top of the board in practice with, not much, about 200ths of a second over Gabriel Ellison. But I mean, that's a pretty slim margin, and that's only one lap too for their timed lap. So it'll be interesting to see who can use the either the experience from the ARCA race or the experience from the other races earlier in the season to get a win here tonight.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting anybody to be able to flat foot it around this track. Let's take a look at the weather here for tonight.
Looks like we are in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's about 73 degrees outside, little cloudy outside, so maybe cool the track off a little bit. The track temp is actually about 94 degrees, so that it's a little cooler than it was in the ARCA race earlier. But we're at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a mile and a half track. Altitude's about 670 feet, so it's going to be an interesting race here.
Yeah, and the one thing here is that aero damage, as we saw earlier, saw a little aero damage earlier, but it didn't affect them, that much. But this is one of those tracks that any aero damage here, especially on the right front, is going to play a huge factor on your truck over the long run here.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that these cars aren't maybe as fragile as the ARCA cars are, but they are just as aero dependent because I mean you get just a slight bump on somebody's bumper and your front end gets pushed in, and then I mean you're pretty much done for the rest of the race. And especially this Thursday night Throwdown Truck Series not having a fast repair, that I mean if you get in a wreck on lap 2 and just get a little bit of damage on your front end, you're pretty much done for the night.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if, kind of like we saw in the ARCA races, are we going to be able to see anybody pull out and get a sizable lead here? It looks like we're getting ready to go to qualifying here.
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely interesting. The tires are going to be just as much of a factor, if not more, in these trucks than they were in the ARCA cars.
Yeah, and the tire wear, I think we'll see again here tonight. Is let's see who's out on track right now, putting down a qualifying lap here. Take a look at Brian Skidmore here. He's coming out on track now. See what kind of laps he's going to be able to put down here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what these guys can do because I've run a couple of these C fixed races here at Charlotte in the trucks, and I mean mainly the lap times were about mid 30s. Not too. I don't think I've seen anyone in the 29s, but you never know. It could happen.
Yeah, and this is a lot like the ARC cars. I think you're going to throw away that first lap, try to get your tires warmed up, try to get, keep that momentum, get that speed built up coming through 3 and 4 there on the first lap, and try to set a good qualifying pace the second lap. You want to push it, but I still think you're going to have to lift a little bit on both ends here.
Yeah, for sure. Like we were talking about earlier, that big drop off into turn 1. I mean, it'll get you tight, but if you're in it too much, then it'll also get you loose. So it's kind of it goes both ways, I guess. But Brandon Browning just jumped to the top of the leaderboard with a 30.735.
Yeah, that's a pretty good first lap, Ryan. I expect those times to pick up here coming to the second lap. So we're seeing, quite a few more pop up on the board now. It's like 6 trucks that have laid down their first lap time. Looking at Skidmore right now, he's coming around for a second lap. I'm curious to see how much gain he's got here. He was 0.22 by from the leader, and he's up to second. But yeah, Wilson has jumped to the top with a 30.48.
Now that's interesting because he was doing very well in the ARCA race. So I wonder if any of that experience will translate over to these trucks. But we just saw James Morgan jump to the top of the time charts with about a 200th of a second lead. So I mean, it's a tight field here yet again.
Yeah, and I expect it to be pretty much a tight field throughout the most of the race. And looking at Clint Sneed here, who just was the winner of the ARCA race we just had coverage of. Him. Wonder how the ARCA car is gonna transition for him here to the trucks tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if the guys that just ran in that race used that experience, or it could help them or it could hurt them too, because the ARCA car drives a lot differently than the trucks in some aspects. But I'm pretty sure that the tire saving aspect will still be very much alike from car to car.
Yeah, the speed will stay close to the same here. Let's see how he does on that first lap. And that would put him in 8th. Right now, Wilson's still at the top. Right now, we're going to take a small break here to pay homage to our country and play the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so
All right, we're back. Going to take a look at the qualifying results there. With the Trailblazer Award presented by Shenandoah Shine is going to go to Gabriel Ellison and the number 27 with a qualifying time of 30.420. Starting to the outside will be Bradley Wilson and the number 51. Second row will go to third place. Landon Lacey will be starting the number 25. To his outside with the number 5 of Timothy Latham. James Morgan will be starting fifth in the number 43. Clinton Sneed will be starting sixth in the number 49. Brian Skidmore brings his number 75 to a seventh place start. Kevin Winker will be starting eighth. John Peel will be starting ninth.
Alex Bonsignor will be starting 10th. Alan Bird in the number 14 car will take home 11th. 12th place will be Jeremy Little in the 3 truck. Mitch Ellison will take home the 13th spot with the 55 truck. Donnie Lyons will take the 14th spot on the grid in the 79 truck. 15th goes to Brandon Browning. 16th is Joshua Abb. And rounding out the last truck on the field will be Garrett Delph in the 13 truck.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this is going to unfold here. And looking at the qualifying times, it's kind of like we talked about earlier. I expect the draft to play a major effect here, and I'm wondering if these guys are going to do like the ARCA guys, get single file early, and you're going to see who's going to save and who's going to try to get that jump out front and clear the draft there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious to see if Gabe Ellison can pull away with this one, because he did win at Vegas, and he's the he's been up there pretty much every week. So I wonder if he's just got some kind of mile and a half knowledge that not everybody else has, and if he might be able to put that to work tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season to see which guys stand themselves out apart. But out of the field, you never know. There's always a track that one driver prefers over others. I mean, we've all got our favorites, and mile and a half. Sometimes people excel at. Some people are better at draft tracks. Some people are better at short tracks. That's the one thing with these schedules is the mixture. You never know who you might have. That surprise guy come from the back, save tires. We've seen it before. Fuel run races, you never know what you're gonna get, and that's what I love about these series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like we were talking about, this could very easily turn into a fuel strategy race. But the pace car is dipping off, and we're getting ready to go green here. The 27 of Gabriel Ellison is going to lead us to the green flag. And they're off.
Looks like he's going to get a good start there. 25 was kind of third place truck was tight on him there. Coming into 27, not quite too much of about a fender advantage there. I wonder if this outside lane is going to get the momentum here coming down the backside.
Yeah, they're pretty even right now, but a lot different than the ARCA race that we saw a little bit ago. Everybody's still pretty much double filed throughout the field. In the ARCA race, we saw them jump to single file fairly quickly. So this is it's already gonna be a different set of conditions, I guess.
Yeah, and these trucks, are like the ARCA. Halfway through the corner, you got to be careful with that gas and with that wheel, because it will come around. As we see Bradley Wilson jump to the lead now. He's got that 70 laps experience with that ARCA car. He knows how this track's going to change, and he's probably feeling pretty good behind the wheel right now.
For sure. And we also saw in the last race, he jumped out to about a 2-second lead, but in the end, he ended up burning his tires up. So hopefully he takes a little bit of learning from that earlier race and applies it to this truck.
Yeah, and Landon Lacey is sitting there in third. He's pretty much where he started. He's probably trying to get a feel now to see, how this truck feels. As I noticed, most of them are they're running the bottom right now, and I'm wondering if that line's going to migrate up as we go along and tire wear starts to play in here.
Yeah, for sure. They're about everybody's single filed out now. I want to point out our fifth place runner right now, Clinton Sneed. He's gained one spot on that restart, but I mean, he's going to be a good one to watch tonight, I think, because he's got that experience from the ARCA race. He went and won, and I mean, that could very well apply to the truck race here, and hopefully he can use a little bit of that knowledge tonight.
Well, and the guy sitting in seventh right now, Kevin Winker, we saw him in the ARCA race save some tires. It just looks like he ran out of time there at the end. So I'm curious to see how that's going to translate over to the trucks here. If, he knows when the tires are going to come in now, if he's going to be able to use that to his advantage and make that move a little bit earlier. I mean, he was able to catapult himself, to a podium finish there in the ARCA race.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I want to say is the track temp is 10 degrees cooler than it was for that ARCA race. So, I mean, as a driver, Chef, what does that allow you to do better that you wouldn't be able to do in the ARCA race?
Well, that lower track temp means I'm not going to be burning up the tire quite as much. It depends on how many degrees. If we're talking a degree or two, it's not going to really come into play that major. Now, you get cloud cover and it drops 5 or 10 degrees. You're talking a huge swing in how much faster the truck is going to be. But you don't want to do that and burn it up over 2 laps because, 2 laps later, the sun comes out and you're back to the condition, if not hotter than the track was before.
Yeah, definitely. As we see, Brendan Browning was just kind of cruising along, just sitting in 12th position right now, just trying to maybe figure out the truck and get a feel for it. But our leader is sitting pretty comfortably in first place right now.
Yeah, and looking back at the field, taking a look at that number 75, Brian Skidmore there, he's kind of letting guys go back now, and I wonder if he's just got that tire strategy saved. And 100 laps, it's looking at on the fuel run. I'm wondering if anybody's going to be able to one pit this. I mean, they've got 2 extra sets. I just saw the 3 and the 75 touch doors there. They were to gather it back up and keep it going, but I'm curious. Is anybody going to try that one stop? Because you're going to lose a lap. 48 seconds is what you're going to be looking at coming down pit road.
Yeah, for sure. And just saw a little more contact there actually with the 73. But I think this could very easily become a a fuel strategy race. They're going to want tires, but if they can make it on 2 stops, I think one stop. I think that's very doable with 2 sets of tires.
Going back up front, Brad Wilson, pulling out a little bit here, about 3.5 tenths lead, but you got second and third working together there. They're going to be able to use that draft to pull right back up to the back of the leader. It looks like here. So we'll see, how anxious they are to make the move or whether they want to ride because. As the leader, like we mentioned before in the ARCA race, he's not going to be able to save the fuel that the other guys are going to be able to save.
Yeah, when you're out front like that, you are pulling those guys behind you because you're punching that hole in the air. So as we see the 27 of Gabriel Ellison moving to the inside, trying to take that lead from Bradley Wilson, and he might be able to do it coming out of this corner. I don't know if he's going to get clear or not.
Yeah, this part of the track here is always where I kind of cringe up the most there coming through that tri-oval because especially later in the runs when these tires get a little slick there, depending on the truck and the setup, they can get a little sideways coming through that tri-oval.
Yeah, and that is not exactly what you want to see when you got a car on your outside or on the inside. Seeing a car sideways and trying to correct it. As we see the 27 of Gabriel Ellison clear the 51 to get the lead from this race.
Yeah, and Landon Lacey looks like he's going to try to follow him on the inside here to take second place.
Yeah,
so the question now is, do you let him just go and try to save a little bit for later? Learn something that happened earlier. Try to save a little bit tire. We'll have to see that plays out. It looks like we got a battle shaping up for the 4th position as well.
Yeah, definitely. Timothy Latham kind of seems like he's just gonna let the 43 of James Morgan go by and get that. I don't know. He might have been trying to get that run on the outside, but it just doesn't seem like it's that top line is coming in yet.
Yeah, and here in a lot of tracks with these trucks, if you've got that momentum, you've got to find somewhere to push it because, if you lose that momentum here, you're losing a lot of time or even a lot of positions. As you see, Clinton Sneed has moved his way up to the fifth position as well, so he was able to get by the 5. And looks like the 42 is going to try to work his way by the 5 too. So Winker's coming up to the field now. I'm not sure if Latham is trying to save a little bit of tire here.
He very well could be. I don't know if he was watching the ARCA race or if he has just run a lot of laps here to know that these tires are very valuable. And I mean, there's something that you're going to possibly take for granted in these first 15, 20 laps, but you're going to be wanting them later on.
Yeah, and Landon Lacey was just able to get by Brad Wilson for the second position here. So the second and third, and looks like fourth's going to be coming into the picture close enough to draft here, and fifth. They might be able to line up together and just kind of, at this point, how far would you, how bad would you want to push it to get to the front there, Trevor?
If I'm in this race right now, I'm just sitting back because I know how important those tires are and also how much the draft is important. So if I can maybe sit back a little bit and still hang on to that draft and try to keep my tires under me, then I'm sitting pretty good. But if I start burning them up and lose the draft maybe or get too far ahead, then everybody else is just gonna sneak back up to you.
Yeah, and just looking right now at the sixth place battle, the 42 of Kevin Winker and the number 5 of Timothy Latham there. They were side by side going through 1 and 2, and the 42 was able to pull on the high side with that momentum. So that's what I'm wondering is later in the run is that high side, the guy can get to you, but is he going to be able to pass you because you're going to have so much more momentum on the outside?
Yeah, these trucks are so momentum based that, you have to be super fluid with your motions. So that outside can become a very viable option later on in the run. But in this beginning couple laps, it's going to give you a little bit of a run, but it's going to be tough to run the whole time up there.
Well, right now, 4th and 5th with the two guys battling earlier, you got Clinton Sneed and Brad Wilson. Brad Wilson's fallen back to 5th position. I don't know if this is a strategy or did his tires get burned up there. But that's, if you want to do the pass, you kind of want to hurry up and get the pass completed because, running side by side at a track like this, you're burning tires up in both trucks here.
Yeah, from my personal experience, if I'm the 51 and I know that 49 of Clinton Sneed is a little bit faster than me, I'm just going to lift, honestly, and I'm going to let him get by me and let's single file out and we'll sort it out in a couple laps because, them racing side by side like this is just pulling that 42 of Kevin Winker right back up to him because they're punching a huge hole in the air and he's just sucking right in.
Yeah, and just letting those 3 trucks in front of them just kind of walk away because they're single file. The 27 Gabriel Ellison's got about almost 4/10 lead here, but they're all within drafting range. So anytime they could pull up, and it looks like they're going to be coming up on a lap truck here.
Yeah,
looks like it's going to be the 75 of Brian Skidmore. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him there.
I don't know. I missed that part. But lap cars are going to be a huge factor in this as well. If we get, if we end up having a couple wrecks and some cars get damaged, then the leaders, if they go too wide into a corner and all of a sudden there's a lap car there, someone's got to back out because that usually does not end very well.
Yeah, and at this point, you're on the radio when you're catching that lap car and you're asking, okay, could you stay high or which lane did you want to keep there? Because, as the leader, that's the last thing you're going to be a lot faster than that guy. And you kind of want to plan your move before you get there, so there's no last second have to react there.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at our leader, Gabriel Ellison, I mean, you can see from this in-car camera right there that he's just being smooth and trying to save his tires. I'm assuming because they're, I mean, the guys behind him they're still single filed out, but he's just trying to preserve what he can and keep that lead that he's built up.
Looking at the stats, Skidmore's kind of pulled away from, you know, getting lapped down again here, but it looks like he's gone in the pits there. So his times are a good second, plus almost a second and a half quicker than the leaders right now. So that shows you, just 22 laps in of how much faster fresh tires are going to be.
Yes, for sure. Fresh tires are like, I don't even know how to describe it, but when you get fresh tires and everybody else is on old, worn out tires, I mean, that is the best feeling in the world because you are just flying by them. But here again, that is where we begin to see cautions normally, which this league, I believe, has been pretty good about cautions. They've only had a few in the last 3 races, so I'm assuming that these guys are more than capable of holding the line and keeping in communication with each other. But that's something we're gonna have to watch out for as more people come down pit road.
Yeah, and I'm looking through the stats now, and it looks like Garrett Delph in the number 13, sitting here 26 laps in, has been your biggest mover now. He's up 10 places, and his lap times are pretty consistent with the leader here. So I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out for him over the long run.
Yeah, I was assuming that someone from the ARCA race might be the biggest mover just because they've had that experience. But good to see someone else that I'm assuming just put in a lot of practice and kind of knows what he's doing. As we see the 43 of James Morgan making a move on Landon Lacey in the 25 for the second position.
Yeah, and as we mentioned to earlier, it looks like that 25 is going to get that run there on the high side. 43 can get there, in the center of the corner. It's just hard to get that drive off because you don't have that whole track to work with there. So, but sitting here now, this is what Gabriel Ellison wants to see.
Exactly. He loves to see those two Chevys right next to each other because he is just going to start slowly pulling away from them. Them being side by side is, I mean, they obviously want to be in front of each other, but they got to realize that that's going to slow them down as well.
Yeah, and we race each other a lot here, and we've both been in these scenarios, and you don't want to be side by side because you want those tires for later, and this doesn't help you. You got to go with the momentum if you got the momentum to get there, because you don't want to lift at all because you're going to lose so much time. So it's kind of a battle of attrition here. As you see, the 43 is able to complete the pass.
Yeah, and I'm looking back at the 12th position. We've got another side-by-side battle with the 55 of Mitch Ellison and 22 of Alex Bonsignor. And, I mean, these guys have been door-to-door for the last couple of laps, it seems like.
Yeah, that just, these might not seem, 12th place, but, later on in the season, one position, 1 point can make a huge difference in the points battle here. As we're sitting at 30 laps in. I'm wondering when you're going to start seeing people, make that decision to come down pit road. You're almost a third of the way in the race. I'm wondering if you're going to see somebody take a gamble here kind of early, but once you make that bet, you're going to have to sleep in it. You're going to have to pit again if you come in this early.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it depends on their fuel, what their fuel's looking like right now, consumption-wise, because if you're the leader, Gabriel Ellison, I don't see how you could be saving enough to make it halfway at least. But anybody else in like this pack that we're looking at right here, they're using the draft of each other, sticking single file. I mean, that's how you save fuel right there, and you just lift a little bit more on the straightaways than you would and they might be able to stretch it and make this thing a one-stop race.
Well, I just went back and checked on the 51 there as we saw him fall earlier, back to fifth or sixth. And he's actually putting down, he's one of the fastest trucks on the track right now. So he might have been saving a little bit, learned, a little bit from earlier, let those guys go. And now he's got a little bit better tires and is able, he does have the draft behind him with the 42 of Kevin Winker, which those two were running close together earlier too. So, these guys, they know what to expect out of each other here at Charlotte for sure.
Yeah, I think he definitely learned some things from the ARCA race, and he's trying to apply them here. But man, almost 4 seconds is a pretty big gap to close. So I don't know if he might have lost that time that in the beginning, and that's hard to make up.
Yeah, and once it got by, it looks like James Morgan is trying to cut a little bit into the lead here of Gabriel Ellison in that second position there. He's definitely got the toe draft here, and like I said earlier, it looks like we got a caution here. We're gonna have to try to figure out, see what happened here.
Man, I don't know how to feel about that as a driver, because I was hoping to maybe stretch it to about 50 laps or close to it at least, but I think I don't know, I'd be hard pressed if we saw anybody like try and stay out on these old tires.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see it. And going back and looking at the replay, it looks like Bonsinger just got tight through 3 and 4 there and came up and grazed the wall. And unfortunately, Charlotte's one of those places you can't hold it on the wall. If you touch that wall, it's going to kick you out.
Yeah,
So much speed, momentum.
Coming through this quad oval, the angles like on the corners is just so abrupt that if you hit it right coming out of turn 4 like he did, as we see him from the inside, he tries to correct it and just it snaps loose on him, and there's not much you can do as a driver after that.
And as we suspected, I'm seeing the field come down pit road here, so this is no surprise. Sitting 35 laps in, they're gonna have to make another stop here. Looks like the 75 is gonna stay out, but he had that pit stop earlier, so. I'm not sure. Is he thinking maybe one more pit stop? This would definitely help him with the fuel run, but tires are going to be another factor here. Looks like he's going to get the wave around. So while they're at the pits here, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Let's face it, to build a new website or redesign your existing site, you have two options. You can start by learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SEO, SQL, CMS, well, you get the idea. Or you can be smarter and look for someone who is a professional in web design like Sneed Competition Design. We are experienced in building quality websites for our clients. We always start with strategy and planning to build a clear vision about what you need. Your website will then be passed on to the design and development phase, where we will ensure that you get a fully responsive design that is easy to use regardless of any device using the latest tools in web development. Contact us today, and let's talk about accelerating your business to the next level by creating a complete online solution.
Hey, welcome back. As you can see, we're still under caution here, and the late majority of the trucks have completed their pit stop there. And Light's still on the pace car, so should be coming, I think, to one to go this time by, Trevor.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a caution on lap 35 is it's tough as a driver because you wanted to stay out and get maybe a couple more laps on your tires, and especially the leader, seemed like he was doing pretty good and pretty comfortably in the lead. But um, I I think once the caution comes out, everybody had to come in and take 4 fresh Goodyears, and now we're basically gonna re-rack them and send them off like we did in the beginning.
Yeah, at that point with the caution coming out, you got to, even if you wanted to try to make it halfway, you're guaranteed a stop and a chance to keep your position now, as most of the guys coming off pit road are pretty much going to line up the same way they did when they went in. But if you would have waited, that's a lap you're going to lose. And if another caution comes out, that's going to pitch you that one lap, maybe even two down. Yes, you're going to be faster, but you're going to be working out of the negative trying to get back on the lead lap. And we've all been caught in that situation before. And as a driver, your priority is getting back on that lead lap, and then you worry about fighting your way back up and getting as many positions as you can.
Yeah, for sure. The We are 1 to green here, and I'm I don't know. I'm interested to see if any strategies changed, because we saw a couple people. We saw the 51 of Bradley Wilson kind of drop back a little bit, and he started to make up some time. But all that time that he just lost while saving tires, if that's what he was doing, I mean, he didn't get anything for it, you know. So I wonder if he'll change his strategy up a little bit, maybe try to burn him up more, and play for another caution. But
Well, as we stated earlier, is looks like they're going to be coming to green this time by. That gave them a chance to see how their tire wear was on the 35, 36 laps. As the pace car is off, should be up. The leaders are firing off right now, and Gabriel Ellison is going to be able to get a good jump here. 25 will be able to maintain second there from that outside lane. Looks like the battle is going to be for third here coming into turn one.
yeah, we saw 25 of Landon Lacey just a little jumpy on that restart, but he was able to get away clean and no wheel spin problems here on this restart.
Yeah,
Looks
I'm
like
expecting to see them all get back in single file probably as quick as possible, at least in the front. You're going to have some shuffling still in the back of the field, looks like.
That's what I was just about to say. It's very reminiscent of the ARCA race earlier. Everybody just kind of got single file and is trying to run comfortably. But I mean, these front two trucks have got a little bit of a gap forming between them and third place. Excuse me.
Yeah, and it looks like they know that running side by side is the 25 of Landon Lacey got a great run off 1 and 2. He's going to try to take that top spot away from Gabriel Ellison. Looks like he's going to be able to do it coming through 3 and 4.
That was a textbook pass right there. He just sent it down to the inside and it stuck, and then he was able to clear the 27 of Gabriel Ellison, and I mean there's not much of a better pass than that.
Yeah, that's all about timing. You got just enough of a gap that draft is going to pull you in on that back stretch, and you time it right to get time to the bottom. It's going to take some of that speed away from the lead truck, and before he gets you balance back out, you still have that momentum on the bottom side.
Now another factor here is the clean air. We have yet to see Landon Lacey in the clean air, so I'm curious to see if he runs a little differently in this run rather than where he was in the dirty air before behind the 27 of Gabriel.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before now until you bring it up. But that a lot of tracks, clean air makes the difference. Now I don't remember off the top of my head if Charlotte is one of those tracks here. I haven't had a whole lot of success here at Charlotte, but it could be very well one of those tracks that. And with the line later in the run is tire run, and it's one dominant line, as a leader, that's where you want to be, because you're going to control where you're at, and the other guys got to find a way around you.
Right, but on the flip side of that, you want to be there as the leader, but at the same time, if I'm the 27, I'm just going to let this 25 of Landon Lacey chill out, and I'm going to let him run his race, and I'm going to sit back here and save fuel, because we still got to make 2 more pit stops. So the less fuel that I gotta add to my truck, the better off I'll be.
Yeah, you're gonna kind of let him pull your ride a little bit. As I'm looking through the field here to see if we got any close battles. As these two kind of pulling away a little bit, but that next group of four, looks like they're gonna bunch up and probably be able to make up some time there on the leaders. And that group's led by James Morgan in the 43, and we saw him up front earlier, in the second spot.
Yeah, I think he definitely learned some things being up there, and I I don't know. I mean, he's up 4 spots from the green flag. He's probably, or excuse me, that's Kevin Winker. Kevin Winker's up 4 spots from the green flag, so I believe he's learned a lot. So far, we saw him using the outside lane a couple times, and I'm wondering if he's just kind of letting his tires warm up a little bit, and then he'll shoot to that outside later on.
Yeah, and I just looking back at Clinton Sneed in the 49. We talked to him earlier in the post race, and he talked about how he was able to save tires and use them there towards the end. Him knowing that there's one more pit stop that's gonna have to be had. I'm wondering if he's just riding right now, knowing, okay, what little bit of time I'm gonna lose right now, I'll make up later in this run, and kind of set himself up for a good position coming in the pits, and then push it probably a little bit harder on the last run.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw actually Clinton in the 49 get a heck of a run on the outside out of turn 4, and he was able to clear the number 7 of John Peel. And I mean that's a pretty big run that he got there. So I'm curious to see if that's gonna start. We're gonna start seeing more people use that top side as the 48 of Brandon Browning moves to the inside.
Yeah, and sometimes as a driver, you get out here and you accidentally find something. You find a line that you kind of getting past, and you wait a minute, I just found something on the outside here that I didn't know was there, and it ends up working out in your favor. But looking back up front, the 25, you mentioned Clean Air. He's he's out to 4/10 of a lead right now. He's not quite out of draft range here, but looks like the Clean Air is suiting his truck pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is, I don't want to put any curses on anybody, but this is very reminiscent of what we saw earlier, where Gabriel was able to pull away, and he was about 4/10 to a half a second, just about that whole 30-lap run. So maybe that Clean Air is going to be a bigger factor than we thought.
Yeah, I think the key here is going to be, especially in 3 and 4, if you can get that truck set on the bottom, lift it a little bit, get it set, and be able to get that drive through, the beginning, center, and the center off on that low line to gain that momentum, might make the huge factor later on, depending on, if there's another caution or not, or, if it goes green flag. Draft will be the key factor here, of course, especially if there's anybody around you. But if you're looking later and you got a lot of laps and it can be a tire run, that may become dominant.
Yeah, for sure. I was just looking at the 3 truck of Jeremy Little. He's just kind of sitting in 6th place right now. He's up 6 spots from the green flag, but he was right up on that pack, and now he kind of dropped off a little bit from them. So I'm wondering what he's thinking right now. Is he trying to save that tire or fuel possibly, and use the draft? But I mean, that's a pretty big gap that he formed right there.
Now, the other question that comes to mind is he running any differently than he was before, or is he running the same lineup at the same intensity as before, and those front 4 or 5 trucks are just falling back to him rather than him gaining on them? It looks like the 51 is getting ready to make a move for that 4th position here.
Yeah, we just saw him. He got that big run out of turn 2 and decided to use it, but he was turned away because of that run that the 42 got off of the top line.
Yeah, that run on the top line, especially coming off 3 and 4, I've seen it before, and I'm wondering if I'm going to see it sometime tonight, where the guy behind stays a little bit higher than the guy in front, And as they come through 3 and 4, when the guy in front of him comes up, it gives him that huge pull and allows him to set himself up going through the tri-oval with that draft to get that run on the inside and clear. And the one thing we didn't talk about earlier tonight was you might see a slide job come in 1 and 2, before the night's over with.
Oh, without a doubt, man. This track is super easy to do slide jobs on because the runs that you get are just so good. Like if you run the top side on out of turn 2, then you get a big run down the back stretch and you can send it into turn 3 and hopefully slide up and clear the guy in front of you. But there's a huge risk versus reward factor there because if you do not clear him and you're stuck on that bottom line, then you could be stuck side by side for a couple laps, and that'll burn your tires up really quickly.
Yeah, and you lose so much momentum pulling that slide job that if the guy behind you times it right, he's going to cross right back over and gap you and put you a little bit further than you were behind, and you just burnt your tires up a little bit. So it's all about your timing and where you are in the race. If it's inside, 1 to go, your chances that if you can pull it off successfully or in your risk versus rewards a lot better than earlier in the run because you might have just burnt your tires up for nothing. So
Yeah, very true. I'm just looking at the gap for the leader, and Gabriel Ellison has closed that gap and pushed away a little bit from third place, James Morgan. So I don't know, maybe he's just putting a little bit of pressure, slowly pouring it on Landon and trying to get him to maybe make a mental mistake, hit the wall, clip the apron, something that just gives him a little bit of free time on him.
now we're at lap 57 now, Trevor, out of 100. So we are within a fuel window here. So if someone was to pit now, they could make it to the end. So we talked about undercut earlier. Seeing where they pitted, we know they're going to have to pit one more time. Depending on where you're at, in the field, top 5 or even further back, how far would you want to undercut it?
And I don't know. I mean, I normally am not very good at the undercut, but I would, in my head, my number is, they pitted last on lap 35, right? That was our caution. So I'm going to say you split it, maybe try to split it in half and, man, I don't know, go to like 65-ish. But if you're anybody besides the leader, I'm thinking, hey, he's going to go 65 to 70 maybe. So I'm going to go 2 laps before that or 3 laps before that because then I'm going to have more laps on my newer tires. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, ideally, if you got teammates in here and you can get together at any time, you could pit now, especially if you're outside that top 5. You could take the gamble. You can get 2 or 3 trucks together that you can draft together. Go ahead and undercut it. Maybe get, you're going to gain so much time back. It's going to swing back and forth. But on the negative side of that, the longer you stay out on those tires, the more you're going to fall off as well. So it's a huge gamble, and it either can pay off or, you can end up where you were before or even worse. And in the worst case scenario, you come in and, that dreaded C word, I'm not going to say it, comes out and you're even